Hello, how's everybody doing? Happy March 24th. It's we got one more Friday left in March, and March will be over. That's the third month of the year. The first quarter of the year will be over. Isn't that amazing? Um, Time seems like time flies. It really doesn't. It goes by the same speed, but your ability to process it, and based on what's going on in your life, it may seem like it's really speeding by. But welcome to Financial Freedom Fridays. This is Gus Tucker, and I'm at a stand-up desk here. Um, what I'm seeking to do more is stand up more of the day. So right now it's 10 to 20 minutes an hour. I'll try to stand up. I can move around. It's healthier than sitting down that whole time. You know what I mean? So on blackdoctor.org, we trying to be healthy. You know what I'm saying? So um, we're gearing up for the workshops we're going to do in April. So each of the programs in April is really going to be a do shop. We want you to really take advantage of the information that's being communicated to you. So, and April is Financial Literacy Month, and we're going to do a workshop to really get a handle on your finances. I've been doing sitting down with people for over 20 years, since 2002. And in 2002, I can maybe on two hands meet the people that were ready to retire financially when they wanted to. And there were some simple things that they did. They're simple, but they require some discipline, and they require a plan. Okay, welcome Florida. I wish I was in Florida. November of 24, I will be though. Hey, but so I just think back. I was sitting down with a young lady, and she was in her just turned 61, and she's about ready to retire in the next 14 months, and she positioned herself well for retirement. And then there are persons who made more money than her, about the same age, but had less than 10% of the assets that they had. And you look at those two people who had similar opportunities, but are going to live very different retirements unless something really changes drastically. So the things we're going to talk about, I want to prepare you. I want to prepare you for the do shops. And here's what I found. And I was just talking with my friend, the producer here, Ellis, and we're talking about healthcare. He's going to Washington D.C. to do a panel on healthcare, and people don't go to the doctor the way they should. Do we? Or the dentist, or we think we can handle it ourselves. We don't open up to get professional care in areas that we need professional care. So I would encourage you, as we go through this checklist. We're going to go through this checklist again today. And, oh, Gus, why are you going through this again? Oh, man, we heard this before. Yeah, but have you changed any of your actions or your attitudes about it? The worst thing you can say is, oh, I already know that. I already heard that. That's not the operative thing. Are you doing it? Right? Because the young lady that had seven figures and this person that doesn't have six, they heard stuff their whole lives, but one took advantage of it and one didn't. So the things you're going to hear today, I encourage you to do them. Okay, and if you're later in life and you need to catch up, there are some ways to catch up too. They're going to require some effort, but there are some ways you can catch up. So let's look at this. Why are we doing this? Because we want you to win. Jesus said, "Blessed are the disciplined," and it says meek, but meekness is discipline. It's strength under control. A disciplined person has strength under control. That's discipline emotionally, physically, every kind of way you can think about it. Meekness is strength under control. So be disciplined. Blessed are the disciplined, for they shall inherit the earth on a sustained basis. Okay, these are some things we've talked about. These things. I was talking to some folks last night. There was 10 or 12 people. They're out in Ohio mostly, and I told them that in 1860, um, black people had 1% of the wealth in America, and 160 years later, it hasn't changed much. So guess what? We got to do some things differently. And it's interesting. We're on the call. I think there are like 12 or 13, maybe 15 people, 15 people on the call. There's one white person, the wife of a couple. And I asked them, I said, hey, who taught you guys formally about money? One black person out of the 14 or 15 that were on there raised their hand. And the one white person that was on there, she raised her hand. And then we got to talking about some things around estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, things like that. The one person other than myself that had theirs in place was that same white woman. Now, I'm not typecasting white people versus black people. I'm not saying it, but it's just interesting that that happened. So, what principles or keys do we need to apply to experience God's promised land? See, I don't think we're meant to struggle and have to grind, so to speak, to get to where God wants us to be. There's two ways you can get somewhere. One is called labor. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work. We all should work and we should work hard, but we shouldn't care. I don't think we should characterize it as a grind. That sounds like a unpleasant experience. Work is meant to be a positive experience that brings glory to God and brings fulfillment to you. But there's some keys, there's some principles, and we're going to talk about some of them. I can only talk about it from the perspective that I'm living. So I'm not saying you need to believe what I believe, but everybody's got a belief system, and that governs how you kind of make it through this life. So be careful what you believe too. Um, so here we go. Now, this may seem a little complicated, but if you want to participate in the do shop, I'm going to send some materials to the people that register. The people that don't register, and it's a nominal amount of less than $20, 19.99. You can pay those different ways, and once you do, and you send me your email address, I'll send you the materials. You can go through. We're going to let you go through it without the materials, but it'll just be a lot harder to make it work for you. And here's really why we're charging the nominal amount of 19.99. Because if you pay something for something, you tend to pay more attention. If something's free, you tend not to pay attention. You understand what I'm saying? And if it was $20,000, you'd really pay attention, right? So it's really about you just paying attention, okay? Paying attention. So, so I'll leave it up there for a second. You can take a picture of it, screenshot it, whatever you need to do. So we'll give you a little while. So, this is March Madness. Have you guys watched any of the games? There've been a lot of upsets. I know in the men's tournament and the women's tournament, a lot of upsets. And upsets usually come down to, and losing in these tournaments come down to fundamentals. Because they've tried to pick, you know, probably the top 64 out of maybe 100 teams. Maybe there's 10 or 20 teams that could have been in and weren't, and that kind of thing. So there's maybe, you know, maybe 100 teams. They got 64 teams, and they seed them the best to the worst. But they're all the best in college at what they do. So the distances between them aren't always that much. And if somebody gets hot, hey, David, if somebody gets hot, you know, somebody can lose. But it really usually comes down to fundamentals, simple things. Rebound the basketball. Don't turn the basketball over. Don't miss your defensive assignment. Don't miss passing it to an open guy. Those things tend to be the difference between winning and losing. Okay, small fundamentals. It's the same thing with your money. Okay, there's some fundamentals. At the end of a call we are doing a seminar. This guy was about to retire in 14 months. He says, "Well, can you help me? My money make money for me right now, right now." And I'm like, "Okay, so you need to make money right now, and the reason is because you didn't plan to be where you're at." Yeah, there's ways to make money right now. Investments that can turn you more than another. We can talk about those. But what I'm talking to you about is building some fundamentals in your life. And if you're at a place where you need to make some things happen quickly, there's some ways to do that. And we can talk about those, or you can talk about those with somebody. But yeah, there are ways to do that. So, question to ask yourself in preparation for us getting together next month. One, write this down, okay? I want you to look at this. A life that isn't examined isn't worth living. Don't just, bebop through your life without examining it. Please. When's the last time you sat down and really reviewed where you were at financially? You looked at all your income, all your expenses, all your indebtedness, all the financial investments you were making, your insurances, your estate plan, and you looked at all those things, and you had them updated. When is the last time you did that? If it's been more than a year, you probably should do it again real soon. Okay? You have a financial advisor, but what about a second opinion? If you had a major illness, would you get a second opinion? They were asking you to do some things that were pretty intense to manage your situation. Would you get a second opinion? Not that you doubted the first one, but not every doctor, not every financial person looks at every situation the same, and there are lots of ideas out there. You ever get a second opinion? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I got a person. I'm good. I'm good. Okay. Okay. That person has all wisdom and all knowledge, and nobody else has any. I know you can't run around getting 100 opinions, but a second one? Seriously? So consider that. Zero based budget, building your budget up from the bottom and only putting things in it that are really, really necessary. Woo. How do you know something's necessary? Well, ask somebody else what they think. The book of Proverbs says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but the end of that way is death." Our plans always make sense to us. They always do, because a really smart, genius person came up with them. So our plans always look good. Ask somebody else as you're building your budget. Ask somebody else, "Hey, do you think I need to have this in the budget or at this amount? What do you think? What do you think?" So do you have a handle on your budget? Do you have some specific goals for your short term, like in the next year? What are some things you want to see make happen in the next 12 months? And what are your specific goals and strategies for making those things happen? What about things you want to see happen in the next 1 to 5 years? That's midterm. Then long term, 5 years plus. Other cultures think long term is 100 years. But let's just take 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 plus. And let me ask you a question. I asked this question to a young lady the other day, and she was 70, and we're talking about her goals, and I said, "How many bank accounts do you have?" One checking, one savings. Okay, but how many goals do you have? Man, she had a lot of goals. And I said, one of the reasons why you're having trouble reaching your goals is you're confused. You need to have separate accounts. This is one tip. We'll give it to you right now. You ought to have separate accounts for those goals, at least for the major ones, so you know you're making progress on them, and you don't spend money that was earmarked for one of your goals on something else. I don't know if you have children. We have three. They're grown now. They're adults. Matter of fact, my son and I are going to see Creed 3 tonight. So, father son hangout session. Go to the movie, get something to eat, and see how he's doing. Get to know him. Get to know my son better. But you need specific accounts for specific goals, right? So you don't mix the money up. Does that make sense? Also, I'd like to get some feedback in the comments if there are things that you would like to see covered in the workshops, the do shops. Give us some feedback on that. I want to make sure I have the right amount and the right kind of life insurance. This is big. One of the things, and I want you to think about this. Not too long. I don't want you to get depressed or anything. But hi, Lorraine. Man, that's how my mother spelled her name. Wow, that hit me. My mother spelled her name Lorraine like that. Um, she's been gone 11 years. So, life insurance. Life insurance has been around. Matter of fact, how long do you guys think life insurance has been around? Just in existence and available to people. Since when? When do you think the first life insurance policies were put in place? In your comment section, let me know. What do you think? Let me get a couple. Don't look it up on Google and then tell me. Don't do that. Come on now. When do you think the first life insurance policy was put in place? What do you think? Well, it was in the 1300s. And if you look up the word like major domo, it's an Italian word, major domo. It was a household person. That person was responsible for the family business and taking care of the house, but the family business. Today, the major domo, they call them family offices. And people that have north of $50 million, they have a family office. That's a group of people who spend 100% of their time managing their money to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck out of their current investments and their money's working best for them. They're handling their taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Life insurance is one of those major things. It's been around since 1300, but almost 60% of Americans have zero. Zero. Okay. And GoFundMe, have you guys seen those before out there? GoFundMe, the average one raises about $25,000 in those situations where people have passed away or some tragedy happens. You have an outlier for some famous person or like the NFL guy that was all over TV that passed out on the field with a heart attack. But 25 grand. Insurance is critical. It's something we fall in the right kind. There are many different kinds and they have different features, just like cars. And you can tailor one to your situation. I want to make sure I have the right amount and the right kind of life insurance. Long-term care. This person, one of the recommendations we're going to make to them over the weekend is long-term care. Here's the thing. You can do everything right planning your retirement. Then you get sick or in an accident and you require custodial care at home. And that can be anywhere from 4 to 10,000 a month. That's on top of all your living expenses. Man, who planned for that in their retirement? So what ends up happening is people end up using all their retirement funds during the last 5, 6 years of their life trying to maintain their lifestyle. Why not have long-term care insurance and shift that over to the insurance company? Well, I haven't heard a lot about long-term care, don't know much about it. Um, how much should I get? How much does it cost? When should I get it? That's why you talk to a financial professional about it. But that's one of the weaknesses of this person's plan. Now, think about it. They've got 7 figures saved, no debt, but a risk factor that could bring the whole thing down is no long term care. Disability insurance is more about protecting your income. If something happens and you can't work, it's about protecting your income. And it's usually before retirement. But but is that a need you have? And here's something I just want to put in your mind. A friend of mine who had a large one of the 10 to 20 largest corporations in America had a disability claim that was very legitimate because of an accident. And she told this to me and she said, Gus, the disability companies that your company has, they are more concerned about the company than they are you. They're really not your insurance company. I want you to think about that. Okay, because the last thing that company wants to do is put you on some kind of long-term disability and pay you out your salary or something close to it for the rest of your life. They're not trying to do that. That's why they get rid of pensions. So they're not trying to give you one, even if it's based on a disability. Do you have a plan to get out of debt? If you're in debt, do you have a plan to get out of debt with a specific month and year attached to it? Somehow, when you put a date on something, it takes on a whole different sense of urgency. Have any of you ever been on vacation before? And it's not a drive vacation, but it's a plane or you're going on a ship somewhere, a train. You've got to meet some mode of transportation to get to where you're going. Okay? Think about how much you get done the week before, the couple days before you go on vacation. Think about the level of focus, energy, attention you have on getting yourself together and on that plane or whatever it is you're getting on to go on vacation. What if you live like that all the time? What if you live like that all the time? You know what moves you? That having that date. If you put a date on getting out of debt, when you know what you don't hate, you'll tolerate. Malcolm X. What you don't hate, you'll tolerate. If you tolerate debt, you'll have it forever. But if you say that's it, I'm out of debt by this date, you'll be surprised how quickly you can get focused and make something happen and get that debt knocked out. I wanted to develop a plan to cover unplanned expenses. I used to call them emergency funds. But then I had this thought, if you have the money, it's not an emergency. If something unplanned happens and you have the money, it's just an unplanned event in your budget that you took care of. But if you don't have the money, it's an emergency. Okay? I don't know how and where to invest my money for the future, especially now. Especially now, man, it's concerning, isn't it? Banks going under, multiple banks going under. So I don't know how and where to invest my money. We can help you with that. There are some places that are still safe, but you can get great returns. And you can grow your money without it being taxed and use it without it being taxed. You just got to know where to put it. I want to learn how to retire with a tax free income stream. How much money do you want to retire on coming in? Pensions are taxed, right? 401k incomes are taxed. Once you hit full retirement age, you get to keep all your Social Security no matter how much money you're making. So, in a sense, that's not taxed after full retirement age. How do you set up a tax free income stream? Let's say you retire and you're making $60,000 and you retire for 20 years. You could pay 20% of your income to the government in taxes over that 20 years. That's almost $250,000 during your retirement when you can least afford to be paying taxes. So would you rather pay that $250,000 to the government or keep it in your own budget? What would you rather do? I think it would be good to learn how to have a tax-free income stream when you retire. I want to know how to greatly reduce my income tax liability. We want you to pay the least legal amount of tax possible. Okay? I know firsthand you don't want to mess around with the IRS. Okay? So you want to get that right. I want to understand how and why life insurance makes sense for taxes and saving, investing money, and creating a family bank. There are a lot of concepts flying around out there: infinite banking, um, be your own bank, and how to use insurance to do that. And there's some smart strategies and smart ways to do that. But you really got to understand it and make sure it's the right thing for you. Okay? But we help people with that all the time. How much money do I need for retirement? And how do I get that money? How much money do I need for retirement? And how do I go about getting that money? It's a key question, not one that be answered in your 60s. Okay? It's one to be asked and answered in your 30s, 20s and 30s. If you're in your 50s and 60s, we've got some ideas for you, but it's going to require work. How do I create and provide multi-generational wealth for my income? And wealth is not just money, but it's non-tangible things as well. Excuse me. But on the money side, there's some real things you need to do. How many of you guys are familiar with, and you can Google this, and the reason you can Google it and get this information is that probate is a public thing. If your family has to go through probate, all your business is in the streets. Okay? So Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, who passed away tragically, who got the most money out of his estate? His wife, the rest of his family, or the government and his attorneys? Take a guess. You get one, you get three guesses, and the first two don't count. The government and his attorneys made more money out of his estate than his family did. So you want to have wills and trusts and powers of attorney, living wills, last will and testament, trust, powers of attorney. You want to have them in place. Okay? We're going to be meeting early next week with somebody to update ours. It's something you need to do. Please. You want to help your children and grandchildren pay for college or education beyond high school. Yeah, we got a plan for it. I like to host an event for my family, school, group, or church. I want to help them out. You know, I need a free financial needs analysis because I haven't done one in a long time. What about funerals? Nobody gets out of here alive. Oh, got two ends in funeral. Got to take that out. How do you pre-plan or prepay for funerals? If you prepay, you can save a lot of money on inflation. Funerals are not cheap. Okay, I want to pay off my student loans faster. Maybe get them forgiven. What programs are really out there to do that? Hey, I need to make more money. I need to make 2, 4, 5, 10 grand a month. How could I do that? What are some ideas you guys have about that? Okay, so here's the thing. How many check marks did you have? As you go back through that list, how many check marks did you have? If you had more than zero, we need to talk and you need to be in the workshop. Don't leave this year without a plan on how to win. You know, most teams like pro football, they're having their off season now. And in the off season, there are always coaches that get fired. Did those coaches plan to get fired? No, no. They did their best not to get fired, but they did anyway. So if the best people in their business have plans and they still have the plans not work out, how do we think it's going to work out for us and we don't even have a plan? Please, please don't leave 2023 without a plan to win, okay? Come to the Do Shops and get a plan to win so you can win the money game, both for you and your family. And that's what we want you to do, win the money game. So, hey, just having a short, direct conversation with you, please, I encourage you, take it to heart, okay? Take it to heart. Spend the time to develop your plan with us in April that you can execute for the rest of your life. It'll make a difference for you, it'll make a difference for generations to come. Okay, and here's the thing you need to know: it takes 3 generations of the family doing it right for multi generational wealth to stick. So while you're doing this, you got to be training your children and getting them to train their children. That's critical in this whole process. Hey, you guys have a great weekend. It's Gus Tucker at Financial Freedom Fridays. It's been great chatting with you guys. And I'm about to get out of here so I can get ready to go hang out with my son and watch Creed 3. I think it's going to be intense. You know, it seems like that movie might be a little intense. So we need to get ready. We need to get the popcorn and stuff ready because it's going to be intense. You know what I'm saying? And then hang out afterwards. You guys have a great weekend. And then this nice breezy March in Chicago. You guys take care. God bless. Oh, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. You know, get the word out. Okay? Like, share, subscribe. Is there anything else? Yeah. Repost. Take care, guys. Bye bye.